Is both your parents still with us?
Yeah, my mom, I haven't spoken to her. I haven't seen her in about 15 years. I haven't spoken to her in 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
She was very mentally unstable. She's a broken person, molested from childhood, and then just the wildest stuff happening to her. And the crazy shit is, like, my mom used to hit us with the N word with the hard R. Her own children, she would say that to us. And
And she's white.
she's white, but it's really systemic. A lot of people, I would say that, and they'd be like, "That don't even make sense." Like on the internet, they're like, "That doesn't make sense." And in my mind, I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense, and I never tried to make it make sense. This is just a sick, hurt person that is obsessed with black men, and all her children are with black men. And it all started when she was 14 years old, and she brought a black boy home, and her parents are like, "We don't mix with their kind here,"
Mm-hmm.
and that just like really fucked her up. So it was like this systemic racism, but she lashed out against that because she found black people so beautiful, and then she was just very mentally ill. So that was a difficult thing, and I just couldn't allow somebody in my life, like my mother. She used to use forms of sleep deprivation on me as a way to, like, she would make me stand all night, and like anytime I would start to fall asleep, she would scream my name, just the wildest shit. But anyway, so her and my father, I was conceived out of wedlock, so they were never together, never married, and my dad, he stole my identity when I was young because we have the same name, and he maxed out like my whole like ruined my credit, and then he would definitely, he was stealing. He was never there. He was never in the system. Excuse me, in my life, in my situation. And my dad, 5 years ago, so after he had me, he got a vasectomy, and then 30 years later, or just under, actually knocked up this chick.
What did he get his tubes
No.
untied?
So now I have a 5-year-old brother.
Well, how did he do it if he had a vasectomy?
Man, one in the chamber. That's what the doctor said. He still had one in the chamber or something. I don't know. But yeah, 30 years later, and that was wild to hear. But I had to put my dad out of my life. It's always been a like where I have boundaries and I draw a line, but he'll always cross them. So I'll be like, "Dad, stop talking to me about music," because my dad's an incredible musician. He played in the DC go-go scene. Crazy voice, really amazing percussionist. My father, he really taught me a lot about my heritage and my culture through music when he was there, and that's wasn't a lot, if I'm being honest, but over 18 years, it was a decent amount. But he asked me for like $1 million a couple years ago. He's like, "I need $1 million." I said, "For what?" He goes, "I need $1 million for a house." I said, "You want me to buy you a house?" He's like, "Yeah, I need $1 million for a house for me and my band." I'm like, "Yo, chill." And I just asked him, like, "Please don't ask me for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's my child support? Where's my back child support, motherfucker? How about that? Why don't you give me $180,000 that you owed me for 18 years? How about that?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Okay, son, okay." And then I remember one of the last times as well, like, he's like, "I need a truck." And he's just asking me to buy him all this shit. And so I put him out of my life. And then recently, having my child, he never met his grandson. And my father's 68 years old, and he's done a hell of a lot of hard drugs. And I just had thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it one more time. So a week ago, I flew my dad out, and we really connected. And the first thing he did was ask me for money.
Come on, man.
No, literally, the first thing he did was ask me for money.
Bro, I'm sitting here. I'm so into this story.
He asked me for a truck.
Oh, God.
He asked me for a truck, and he asked me for money, and he asked me to pay all his bills.
What was the number?
A lot.
Jesus
And
Christ.
the thing is I told my dad, I said, "Daddy." Everybody thinks it's weird I call my dad Daddy. I don't know why, but anyway.
No.
So I was like, "Daddy, listen, I love you, but why are you asking me this?" And I said, every other time you've ever done this to me, I'm like calling the booking agent, like, "Send his ass back, get the fuck out of here," like da-da-da. Like, every time a line has been drawn. But the reason I decided to let my dad back in my life this time is because there's a version of me at 50 years old, right? That his dad is dead and has been dead probably for a while. And he's a little disappointed that his younger self didn't have the wisdom to try again. And I thought about that, and I was like, man, I should do that. So I flew him out, and instead of getting all angry when he asked me for money this time, I just said, Dad. I said, Daddy, why do you always ask me for money when I clearly ask you don't do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a fucking bank, man. And he goes, I don't know. And I go, that's a pretty good answer. I mean, I'd rather that than some bullshit. And so I kind of broke it down to him. I said, Dad, I know you've ran around and said that I ain't shit because I don't help the family. I know you said that. And he goes, yeah, I've said that. And I go, I know. You say that I ain't shit because I don't help nobody. And I know there's other members of the family that say I ain't shit because I don't help anybody. And I go, but I've given thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to my brothers and sisters, and they've blown it. Some of them did good with it, but it's shit like, oh, I got arraignment, I need shit for court, can you help me with my fees, da-da-da, running around in the streets, still selling drugs, still doing this, da-da, or, you know, my sister's not fucking paying their gas bill with the money they get from the government because they're buying maybe drugs or something with it, and they're calling me like, da-da-da, and I'm paying that, and then there's just a point where it's like, yo, I can't give you this money because you're literally blowing it. And so I said to my dad, I was like, Dad, I have helped this family. And there are some that I haven't because they kind of did that to themselves. But think about it, Dad. Everybody's looking at it like, oh, Logic, Bob is rich. So that means I got to pay for a house for you, a house for my mom, a house for my two twin brothers, they're twins, a house for my two sisters on my dad's side, a house for my brother on my mom's side, a house for my two sisters on my mother's side. Oh, not to mention the 5-year-old little brother, Ashton, you know, so
Chamber.
Technically I don't need Chamber. He doesn't need a house, but that's 9 people. Now let's also talk about the fact that I said I'll send any of my nieces and nephews to a college, and I'm a man of my word. And one of my nieces who made it through, she is coming up on her last year of college. Her name is Deja, and I couldn't be more proud of her, and I love her. So this means I need to buy houses for all of y'all. Now do the math on that. Now let's just say I get you a decent home for $500,000. That's $4.5 million. Now let's not forget state tax. Let's not forget what's it called? Just like for owning the land, property tax. Let's not forget who's going to be paying everybody's gas bills, everybody's electric bills, everybody's water bill. Oh, and don't get me started. Everybody's got to eat. So I got to pay for everybody's food every month, not to mention I also got to buy a car for everyone, right? Because everybody needs a car. And don't forget, cars take gas. Bro, I could go on and on and on.
Did these people ever lift a finger?
Now, I don't do that.
I know you
I'm saying if I was going to take care of my entire family. And let's not forget that all my brothers and sisters, I didn't even talk about the fact that their kids are all adults. So then that's multiply how many houses I got to buy. Multiply. And that's a hard thing that most people don't understand. They just look at you and go, oh, you're paid. But the fact of the matter is if I had to take care of all my entire family, I would be broke.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said this to my dad, and he goes, you want to know what he said exactly? He says, yeah, nigga, you're not wrong. He looks me in my face and says it. And I say, well, thanks, Dad. And he goes, but can you help me out? I swear to God. So we had this amazing conversation, me and my father. And I said, it's your dream to make music, right? He said, yeah, it's my biggest dream. It's what I love. I said, all right, Dad, I want to make an album together. I want to make a project together, and I want you to sing on some of the songs. And my brothers were in town too. My older brothers, they're twins, Ralph and John. And I was like, I want them to rap on some of the songs. And I want you to earn your money, and I'm going to pay you. I'm going to buy you a truck. I'm going to give you publishing and educate you on what it means to make music and be a part of the music business. And I'm not going to hand you a fucking dollar. I'm going to educate you, and you're going to see publishing for the rest of your life. Because the biggest thing that my dad said, he was like, it's just your little brother. I want to leave a legacy for your little brother and his mom. And I said, I really understood it. And so he's going to have publishing all over one of these next albums that I'm doing, and he's going to earn every cent. And half of all the money is going to be in my little brother's name. And 50% of that is going to go into a trust that nobody can touch, not even my father, not even me, until that boy is 18 years old. And then the other 50% can go towards bills or whatever the fuck my dad wants to buy. So I just started looking at it in that way, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to enable you. I'm not going to give you this. I'm going to help you help yourself. And it's the first time I've ever taken this approach. And at 33 years old, I'm happy that I could come to that conclusion.